ESPN, the NBA draft last night. The Sixers added 3 new pieces. Isaiah Joe from Arkansas was the other second-round pick. First-round pick Tyrese Maxey out of University of Kentucky. So a couple of SEC guys. But I'm a Big Eastman. I like the Big East. And that's where Paul Reed resided at DePaul University. He was the 58th pick in the draft. So we get to play in the Big East. That's me. I'm like, when West Virginia left the Big East, I was just distraught. I hate it. I hate not being in that Big East anymore.
Now you got the Big 12.
Not a fan. Big East is where it's at. Got to bring back the old Big East and get these guys going, banging. And that's what Paul Reed is. He's a banger. He's an athlete. He runs like a deer, he said. Watch him going up and down the court. Should be good stuff. I'm really interested in seeing what kind of game he brings to the league today. And he joins us now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Paul, congratulations, and welcome to Philly, man.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So the draft process a little strange this year. Kind of take us through what it's been like since the end of the college basketball season. What have you kind of been doing? How have you been getting ready for last night?
It's been a long process. It's been very nerve-wracking, and it's been good though, having all this time to develop and enhance myself mentally and physically. So it's pros and cons that came with it, and I kind of look at the positive, and I kind of try to take advantage of all the extra time that we got. Well, to get better.
You had a lot of extra time. I mean, obviously the season ended back in March, and when the season ended back then, I mean, did you think at all that you wouldn't be, around the game again until November?
Well, I knew I was going to be around the game. I was around it most of the break. I was training, making sure I stayed in shape, making sure that I was still ready, stayed ready the whole break. So I was always training. So I never really left the game.
Well, in your career at DePaul, 10 points, 7.5 rebounds in your career. But last year, you really blossomed. 15 points, 10 rebounds. But the number that really jumps off the page to me is 142 career block shots. And that's something that this team could really use as somebody to really help protect the paint. And really, what kind of evolved in your game as a junior last year? When you look back at your college career, obviously last year you had such a monster year, second team all Big East. What do you think, where do you think your game, kind of evolved to where you had your best season as a junior?
I think my game evolved in the leadership aspect because my team, I was one of the older guys on my team at my junior year, and I knew that defense was going to be key for us to win games, and I kind of took pride in that. And took pride in defense, and that was my focus. I was focusing on defense and making sure that guys wasn't coming in my paint scoring.
Is there someone in the league now that you feel you model your game after, or has a similar game to you, or do you feel you're your own unique player and there's really not someone that you can say you compare your game to his?
It's guys that. I wouldn't say I model my game after anybody, but it's guys that I see that I play like, or we have similar games. Some guys that come to mind is dudes like Pascal Siakam, Jeremy Grant, kind of defenders that started off playing defense and, kind of evolved their games and was able to show what they can do on both ends of the court.
Well, both those guys are making a whole heck of a lot of money in the league right now. Jeremy Grant was here in Philly. Of course, he's a free agent. Pascal Siakam, he's a really interesting one because he was very raw and then kind of evolved. Offensively, the way the game is now. Now, you went from, you scored 10 points a game in your career, but last year, 15 points a game. Offensively, what do you bring off on the offensive side? Because I love the fact that the first thing you mentioned twice was you took pride in the defense, making sure no one comes in my paint. Where do you see yourself as an offensive player?
So with offense, with me, it always comes to me. It's either me finishing a play or turning defense into offense and being able to make shots, pick and pop, catch and shoot, one dribble pull-ups, just things like that. I'm not one of those players that's going to go out and force a whole bunch of bad shots, but I'm one of those players that's going to take a lot of good shots, high percentage shots. So whatever a high percentage shot is for me, then I can bring that to a team. And I get a lot of my points from running the floor, like you said earlier, like a deer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and by the way, if people in our audience, if you remember in the game this year against Villanova, he had 18 points, 15 rebounds, 5 steals. I mean, those are the kind of things. It just seems like a stat filler, like basically active, getting your hands in there. The guys you mentioned, Siakam and Grant, active players. You have a team with Joel Embiid, and he's obviously a really big man. You have been described as a defensive-minded big man. Now, not quite as that big man, but do you think you can come in and, compliment him or back him up and kind of give this team a defensive presence as, most people would say, hey, 58th pick, long shot. But do you see yourself as someone who can come in and get minutes right off the bat?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I see myself as a player that can come in and learn and grow and with time earn minutes. I think I can do that. I believe in myself enough to.
How excited are you to get a chance to work with Doc Rivers?
I'm super excited. We talking about one of the greatest coaches of all time. I have so much that I can learn from him. It's a great opportunity for me. It's a blessing.
We're talking with Paul Reed. He was the Sixers' second-round pick late last night while many people were sleeping. Paul came in. Now, our Sixers insider, Paul Hudrick, he mentioned yesterday you as a potential for the Sixers. Was this a team that you had kind of talked to, that you were, as a possibility? Did you think Philadelphia was a spot you could land?
We talked before, and we had good vibes when we talked. So I always thought that it was a possibility that I could be playing for them, and so it was always a possibility.
All right, I want to ask you about this, by the way, because correct me if I'm wrong. Your uncle is Mike Sims Walker, correct? The wide receiver?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Played for the Jags.
Yes, he played for the Jags. I had him on my fantasy team a couple of years. He gave me some big numbers. So you got football in your family. What drew you to basketball?
My dad played basketball, too. He played professional overseas. And, I stayed overseas with him for like 8 months. And ever since then, I just always wanted to play in the NBA. That was like my first memories of basketball and being close to the game. And ever since then, I wanted to play in the NBA. And I played football as a kid.
Yeah.
But, basketball kind of was just always my love, my passion.
You don't see too many 6'9" guys playing football, by the way. So I guess that's a good reason to kind of skew towards the basketball side of things. Well, so what's next, Paul? I mean, normally you get drafted, then you go play summer league, and then training camp. But, I mean, this thing's starting quick. Have you got any indication of, like, what the next step for you guys are?
Yeah, the next step, I think, is, kind of celebrate a little bit with my family, and then probably like in a week, that's what they told us, like in a week, we're going to Philly, and we got to get COVID tested and stuff like that, and then we can start training.
All right. Well, we wish you well. We wish you good luck. And obviously, it's a very interesting time. Be safe out there, and we do appreciate you jumping on board. Congratulations again on getting drafted, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Paul Reed, there you go. Sixers draft choice.